Well, David, I've spent some time looking back at some of the video we had, press conferences from the very beginning. I think in looking at it, the one thing I noticed the most is you just seem so shocked. What were the feelings standing there initially when all of this began?
You mean like starting when they were allegedly carjacked or after she confessed, or?
Right. When they were initially kind of carjacked.
Disbelief and that, like, surreal, this can't be happening. And then it was, well, we gotta find them. Whatever it takes, we gotta get busy, we gotta find them.
What do you remember about Susan during those 9 days where you were looking?
Well, I had heard things like she was failing all these polygraph tests, but I would tell her not to worry about it. You're just upset. Look what just happened to you. I was trying to, like, coach her through how to pass a polygraph. I was telling her, like, I was giving her ideas like, think of a meadow on a summer day, things like that to help pass. And she was also more worried about how she was appearing in public, and like, did she look? I remember her asking me, do people think she's lying? How can people think she had anything to do with it? She had asked me about Tom Finley coming to see her during those 9 days, and I told her I didn't care. That didn't bother me a bit. I wanted to find Michael and Alex.
You were separated at the time,
Yes,
right?
correct.
Walk me back. How did you and Susan meet?
We met at the grocery store we both worked. She was a cashier and I was a stocker.
And the relationship began from there.
Yeah, we just fell for each other, started dating, and one thing led to another.
Did authorities ever say to you that they doubted this story Susan was giving?
No, they never told me that. I was hearing rumors of that, but they never told me that at all, that they didn't believe her. And it was frustrating too during that time, because I was, I believed her 100%. 100%. And I felt like they were wasting time dealing with her and these polygraph failures, and I wanted every law enforcement, all the manpower looking for Michael and Alex. And I just felt like at that time they were wasting time with worrying about her. That's more officers that could have, be out there looking, more boots on the ground.
What can you tell me about Michael and Alex?
Unfortunately, I don't have a lot of memory still of Michael and Alex. I did seek professional help in the years following, and each one of the doctors, psychiatrists told me that those memories would come back, that it was just my body's self-defense looking out for itself, that the memories would be too faint, painful, and that they would eventually gradually come back, but not many have. Like, I can remember Michael used to love to ride on the lawnmower with me cutting grass, and he would always fall asleep every time. I have, like, snapshots of giving them baths, playtime in the bathtub. I have snapshots of maybe them walking to the car maybe at a shopping center. I can't even remember the shopping center. I just can remember I can see them walking alongside me. So it's very scarce, and that makes me sad because I don't have many memories of them. No, they haven't come back yet.
To lose them like you did, how did you feel in the days following Susan's confession?
I didn't understand it. I couldn't comprehend it. There was no way that she had done that. That's what I was feeling. I was hearing it, but I couldn't get my brain to process that thought. And the thought of that they were gone forever, that was even harder to process, that I was never going to see them again.
Plus you were only, 23 at the time?
24.
24.
Yeah.
So young.
Yeah. 30 years later, do you feel like you have ever received the truth about why this happened?
No. I mean, only Susan knows the actual reason why she did it. The prosecution and myself, we had our opinions of why she did what she did. And I did ask her. The one time I did speak with her, which was about a month after she was arrested. Saw her in Columbia, South Carolina, at a prison where they were keeping her, and we spent about an hour together. And I did ask her, and her reply was, "I don't know." Didn't elaborate, didn't go any more than that. She just said, "I don't know."
Why do you think then that she would do something so horrific?
A couple of reasons. Her family was kind of well-to-do in Union. I don't think she wanted to, or she couldn't give Michael and Alex up because that would make her look bad in the county, in the town. I think she did it to be with her wealthy boyfriend. He could, I guess, give her the lifestyle that she wanted. So there's a couple reasons why I think she did it.
Can you forgive Susan for doing something like this?
I have. It didn't come easy, but I was raised to forgive. So that was one of the reasons why I forgave her. And the second reason, I guess, would be because only carrying that anger and hatred around for her was gonna consume me. It was gonna hold me back from moving forward with my life. So that was another reason why I forgave her.
You mentioned speaking to her at that prison in Columbia. Was that the last time you talked to her, or has she ever reached out?
That was the one and only time that I've spoken with her, and I've had no communication with her since that day.
Have attorneys reached out on her behalf or anything like that, especially leading up to this parole hearing?
No, I haven't had anyone trying to contact me on her behalf. No one.
Do you remember what the last thing you said to her was?
No, I don't. I don't recall.
Anything else you want to share about that conversation with her?
Well, I mean, we talked about Michael and Alex. We both cried. And she did say she was sorry for what she did, but then and up to this day, I don't think she really meant it or that it was heartfelt, because she said it such a casual way. She said, her reply was, when I asked her why she did it, she said, "I don't know," but I'm sorry. And it was just as casual as that. So it didn't really, I didn't really feel like she meant it, that she was truly sorry.
Do you plan to attend her upcoming parole hearing?
I absolutely will be at her parole hearing for sure.
That could mean you might see her again, be in the same room with her again. What are the feelings around something like that?
It scares me because I don't want to see her. It makes me nervous and just dreading the whole possibility of seeing her again. I'm dreading all of it.
Is there something that you would want to say to her now?
Nothing that I want to share, and that's partly because I still feel that anything I was to say to her, she don't care. It wouldn't matter to her. It's always been about Susan with her. It's always been about herself. I don't really think she would care what I had to say.
Have you thought about what you might say to the parole board?
Somewhat. I don't know if I'm going to put pen to paper and write something out, or if I'm just going to speak from the heart when I get my chance. But I just want them to know that letting her out, that would be a grave injustice to Michael and Alex. That she doesn't deserve to be free ever again. And I want them to understand that you know, not even so much as it would affect, you know, my life and people in my life, other members of her family, but just what it would, to me, what it would reflect on Michael and Alex, how it just would be an injustice to those two little boys for her to be let free.
During the trial, I think you made kind of an impassioned plea for her to have a harsh sentence. Now that we're coming back to this 30 years later, has it been enough time?
Well, you know, the solicitor, Tommy Pope, we talked about it before the trial began, and we agreed both to seek the death penalty, which we did, but, you know, the jurors felt different, and, you know, we respected that. But just 30 years for taking 2 lives, and it was done maliciously, with malice and forethought. No, 30 years is not near enough for what she did.
Michael would be what, 33, 34?
34. And Alex would be 31.
Yeah, they didn't really get a chance to experience life.
No, they did not. She took that away from them. Susan doesn't, I don't know if she even comprehends or again cares of the damage that she has done.
And the number of lives impacted.
Right.
It's not just her life, your life.
So many people's lives. Aunts, uncles, grandparents. I don't think she has a clue of how much damage she done.
Someone told us that she maybe had a picture of Michael and Alex in her prison cell. That was something that maybe you didn't want to happen.
That's the first I've heard about that.
Oh, okay.
So can't speak to that.
Okay, that's what, I wasn't
Yeah.
sure whether that was correct or not.
Yeah, I've never heard that before, so.
Of course, you have family and friends that you're leaning on. How much are you leaning on them during this time as this parole hearing comes up?
A lot. And probably more than I even let them know. Because I don't want to bother them. They've got their own maybe anxiety or fears of the parole hearing themselves, so I don't want to burden them, but I lean on them more, I guess, emotionally and mentally than they probably know.
And of course, I know Tiffany has been a rock for you.
Yes, she has.
How are you helping him through this process?
I just try to be there and just listen and just be there for him for whatever he needs. Some days it may be just to let him be a sounding board, and other days it might be for me to tell him what I think, and give him my advice back. But most of the time it's just being a sounding board, because over the years he's had his own thoughts about everything, and there was no changing the way he was thinking about those, that certain issue. So, just supporting him in whatever, he wants done to do.
Do you lean on her then?
I do lean on her. Very much. Probably don't tell her enough how much I appreciate her, but I do lean on her a lot.
You talked about moving forward with your life. You all were married in 2003,
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
and you have a family of your own.
We do. We have a daughter together, and then I have a son by another female. But so I have 2 more children, yes. And then we have one together.
Are there good days, Tiffany, or are there bad days?
There's both, but the not so many bad days anymore like there used to be. However, with this parole hearing coming up, I think it has been stressing him out more, and I wouldn't really call them bad days, but stressful days. But he has gotten over the dark years, and where all he wanted to do was sleep and just lay around in bed. He's gotten past that, but now he just just get past this milestone. And
This is tough. I told you, I'm scared to death of seeing her. I'm scared to death she might get out. It's a lot.
I mean, that's the fear, is that the parole board would maybe hear the plea and consider it. What are you worried about?
I'm worried that they'll have sympathy for her. I don't know exactly how the parole board works, because this will be the first time. Meaning, I don't know if it's a majority rules or if it has to be unanimous for her to get paroled. But if it has to be just a majority rules, that really scares me. Because then it'll only take a couple to have sympathy for her and to think that 30 years is enough. And I'm terrified that she could possibly get out. A lot of family, a lot of friends say it won't happen, especially not the first time, and I think that too, but it's still a possibility. It still could happen.
Yeah. You said you're not sure whether it'll be a written statement, whether it's something you'll stand and say that's from your heart. But what can you maybe do to impress upon the parole board that 30 years is not enough time?
I don't know. I guess I haven't thought that far yet. But I think, and I think that's why I'm leaning more towards just speaking from the heart, than having something written down and having to look down and read it and then make eye contact going back and forth. I want to look at them. I want to look them in their eyes the whole time I'm speaking to them, and hopefully that will make an impact.
I think as we spoke with the Union County Sheriff, who could potentially be asked his opinion, talking to Tommy Pope, the prosecutor who handled the case, and some others, everybody says their recommendation is that she not receive parole, based a little bit on some of her behavior as it relates to her time in prison. Have you followed any of that at all? And what are your thoughts?
I haven't tried to keep up with Susan while she's been in prison, but when something would happen and it would make, breaking news, I know about things she's done in prison, with affairs with the guards and drug use, but have I tried to keep up with what she's doing in prison? No. I've tried to forget her, and I think I was doing a pretty good job up until this year.
Is this year harder because of the parole hearing and because it's another one of those milestone anniversaries? 30 years, it seems like a long time, but
I think it's more the parole hearing that's causing me concern and worry, and then knowing that I'm going to have to go back every so often and go through it again.
That's right. Depending upon what the parole board decides, this could be an every year type of thing.
Right.
This could be an every 5-year type of thing.
Exactly.
To have to keep making an argument, how tough is that going to be?
I don't know. I haven't got that far yet, but if it's anything like the first one, it's going to be some long years ahead. Because every time she comes up, I'm going to be scared to death. This is going to be the one that she might get out.
Yeah, just for your family, Tiffany. What are your thoughts?
It has been very weighing heavily on me as well. Of course, we knew each other at the time that everything happened. So I've been with him since the beginning. I've seen everything, every heartbreak he's went through. I've seen all the tears, all the pain,
Depression.
I've seen it all. And to know that she's what has caused all of that. It's just, there's no way to describe how I feel. It's just very frustrating to think that she could possibly get out. Makes me, angry when I think about her getting out. Because like he said, she's 30 years for 2 lives is nowhere near long enough. And of course, when she was given her life sentence, the jury wasn't allowed to be told that life meant she could get parole after 30 years.
30 years to life, right.
They just thought, she's going in for life, which is what I thought at the beginning too. So,
A lot of people have thought that. I've had people approach me in the last few months, saying, I saw something about your ex-wife coming up pro. I thought she went to prison for the rest of her life. I said, well, she got life, but it wasn't true life. So, yeah.
Right, and like you mentioned, the jury couldn't be told that.
right.
That must have been a frustrating part of the whole process.
It bothered me some, but I think it bothered Tommy Pope the most. And I think the world of that man. I think the world of Tommy Pope.
Have you created a tight bond having been through this together?
Yes, we have. We're good friends. He, in that conversation I was talking about before the trial, he was under a lot of pressure from like the city council and other officials of the county not to seek the death penalty because they were worried about how much it was going to cost the county to seek it. That's what they were worried about. And I told Tommy, I said, Tommy, you can't let that be the deciding factor. She deserves the death penalty for what she did. And I told him, I can't pursue that. You're the prosecutor. You have to do that. And he told me after that conversation is what helped him to decide what to do. He realized that, it couldn't be about what it was going to cost the county and how much it was going to cost the county to seek the death penalty.
It had to be about the lives impacted.
Yeah, absolutely had to be about the lives impacted and who lost their lives.
Knowing that starting this year, then it could be an every year thing.
It could
be, and I wasn't 100% certain. Having talked to people, I guess it's up to the parole board to decide how often they'll come back to it.
No, I've heard that it's based on what the person did too.
Okay.
That has something to do with it, or has some play in how often they'll come up for parole.
Okay.
So, well, I guess we'll find out soon.
It's something that never ends for your family, though.
No, it doesn't. And going back to what I said, she has no idea what the damage she has caused. And it just keeps going.
Going back to something he was saying, for the last 30 years, we've not mentioned her name. Her name has just been, and we don't think about her. She's in jail. She's she's being taken care of. Michael and Alice is who, we want people to remember. Remember Michael and Alice. Don't remember their mother. But yet this year, like he was saying, has brought back her more to, our forefront. So we've had to think more about her and say her name more. So yeah, it has made it hard.
How can people remember Michael and Alex?
Just that they weren't just pictures that they saw on TV. These were two little living, fun-loving little boys that had their own personalities, that had their own character traits. And I want people to, when they think of Michael and Alex, to smile, not think about so much what happened to them. I know they're intertwined, but I would like for people, when they think about them, to put a little smile on their face.
Is there anything you want the public to know, just, going forward, and as the spotlight comes back on this case a little bit this year because of the parole hearing, that maybe they're not aware of, even though this
What you mean?
case got so much attention?
I don't know what you're asking.
Is there anything you just want, like, the community to know? Is this comes about more over the next month, it maybe gets talked about a little bit more, that maybe I haven't asked, or, you just want them to be aware of?
I don't know how to exactly answer that, because I want to say to the public that feels she should stay behind bars to reach out to the parole board in letters or emails. But then that makes me also want to be fair about it. And for the people that do think she wants to get out, well, they should have their right to speak too. So it's like if I tell them, people who think she's been in or hasn't been long enough, tell them to speak out, then I open up the can of worms for the other side too. So I'm kind of stuck on that one.
Yeah.
Because I'm not going to tell the ones who think she's done her time. She should be let out, not to speak their opinion about it, because that's not fair to them. It's kind of a catch-22.
A little conflicted.
Conflicted.
Mm-hmm.
Because, you obviously feel the way you do for a reason. And a lot of people would say, maybe you don't need to feel so much compassion for the other side.
It's not compassion. It's being fair. They have the right to, voice their opinions, the same as the other side. So it's just being fair. It's not about compassion. At least not for me.
Anything you guys can think of? I think that was a lot of what I had.
This might be weird. I'm going to ask a couple questions. If you don't mind just responding to Jen. Do you remember, you guys were pretty young. Do you remember when you found out you were going to have your first child, how you felt?
Take that one.
When we found out that we were going to have Savannah, it was just overjoyed for me, because I've always wanted to be a mother, and I would have had several more. But and then he was excited when once he found out, and then the day that she was born, I think he formed a bond with her that was unlike any other. And he held her in his arms, and he told her, he promised her that she would never ever hurt, and she would always be loved, and he made a bond to her. And of course, I have a bond with her like no other, and that's why I had always, even before then, couldn't understand how a mother could take away their child. Didn't truly understand it until I became a mother myself. And once I had her in my arms, there was absolutely no way that I could ever harm this sweet baby. And now she may be 23, but she's still my baby.
I was, like she said, I was joyed, but I was scared too.
Yeah.
Because I knew I wasn't strong enough to bear another child,
Yeah.
even if it was natural cause. And that was in my mind during her whole pregnancy. But as she said, once Savannah was born and I held her, all that went away.
Going back 30-some years, how did that differ for when you found out you were going to have your first child with Susan? What was that feeling like back then?
No different. I was joyed when Mike and Alex were, when I knew they were coming. When I knew Susan was going to have them, I was excited. Looking forward to being a dad.
Tiffany, what kind of dad is he?
He's been a great dad. He's always, would get down on the floor and play. And then when she got a little bit older and wanted to paint his fingernails and toenails, he would let her do that and put pigtails in his hair. What little bit, if she could make one. But he always played with her and, let her be creative and do what she wanted to do. And then, he's been a good advice giver to her. She comes to him for advice a lot of times about things.
And I tried not to be overprotective with her.
Yeah.
Because I knew that would possibly would happen pretty easily if I didn't make myself consciously aware that it could happen. So I had to make sure I wasn't overbearing because of what happened with Michael and Alex.
We also felt that God knew to send him a girl after having two boys, and just to, I guess to make it a little different. Because not that she took the place of Michael and Alex, by no means. But I think she has helped to heal some of the wounds and give him back that feeling of being a dad.
Was it you said it was a role you were excited for. I imagine, I don't have kids of my own, but, anytime you become a parent, there's always probably,
There's always fear.
yeah.
Even now, like I said, with her being older, I still worry about her every night before I go to bed. It's still, is she okay? Did she make it home okay tonight? Because she's moved out and got her apartment of her own now. So, just you always worry about them no matter what. So
I think the fear, or I guess that would be the one difference between the two sets of children. With Michael and Alex, I didn't worry that I was going to lose them. That fear wasn't there. But then after I lost them and was going to have more children, that fear did come up, and I did have to make peace with it. So that is one difference between the two sets of children, was worrying that I would have to bury another one.
Do you remember where you were at, or kind of the day that you found out that Susan was responsible for their deaths?
Yeah, I was at her parents' home.
How did you process that information? I mean, I can't imagine.
I heard about it, her confession on TV. Sheriff Howard Wells didn't even let me know first. Not even phone call or anything. I started hearing all these reports on TV that she had been arrested, she had confessed. So I was beside myself trying to figure out what they were talking about. But I found out, that what had happened to him, like the rest of the world found out.
Kind of speaking of that, I mean, obviously that's a very traumatic experience, but then you when you get to the trial and everything like that, it was such a media circus, for lack of a better term. What was that like for you to navigate those waters on top of obviously the tragic events you were coping with at the time?
Well, around that time, the trial and all that, for me, it was just one day at a time. The media frenzy was out of control. I had them hiding in trees, they were hiding in shrubberies, they were chasing me in their vehicles. And that was very frustrating. But I had to, like, in my mind, I had to break it down and slow all that down, and I knew that they were just doing their job. Some were beyond intrusive, but most of them were respectful. They were just, doing their job. But so I had to slow it down and put it in its own place so I could focus on the trial, and because that was my main goal when the media was really bad. So I had to just process it and shuffle things around in my mind and deal with the priority, or things that had the most priority at that time. And some of that was just, guys, some of that was just staying alive. It was dark.
When that was all over with, you mentioned, almost forcing yourself into a headspace to deal with the task at hand, and then dealing with some of the extracurricular challenges the media came at you with and stuff. When it was all said and done and the trial was over and the media sort of makes its way out of Union to the next thing, what was it like for you when things kind of quieted down after all of that? I mean, I can't imagine.
Was it almost worse after the fact, when there weren't so many things going on?
No, I look forward to it. No, I was ready for them to go away. I was ready for the tension to go away.
But also had the issue, not only after the media went away, you couldn't go anywhere without people recognizing him, because wherever we went, somebody recognized him. And
They still do that.
They still do.
It's not as bad.
But it's not as bad. But
it still
immediately
happens.
after, it was, people were staring, they were whispering, they were, and so that just constantly made things at the forefront. So that was when we moved to Florida to try to get away from some of the attention and that helped for a little while, because people weren't expecting to see our faces in Florida as much.
How long were you gone for? When did you move back?
It's about 3 years.
Well, about 2.5.
2.5 years. We're back in
3 following the...
From November
the trial,
95 to 97, so yeah.
That's what, has it been tougher to decide to stay in the area where so many people know about the case?
No.
You've got family here, right?
I have a sister in Union.
My family is all in Union, so.
But Simpsonville. And
Well, they're all over now, but.
she has a big family. She has a really big family. I don't.
I should have maybe asked a few more questions in the beginning about the two of you. Did you know each other in school, or
Mm-mm.
No.
how did you all meet?
Grocery store.
At the grocery store.
The grocery store is a good place to meet people.
Yeah.
It was at one time.
Of course, Union is such a small town, there's not many places to go. And especially back then, there wasn't a whole lot going on, so.
So you were around for all of this, right? What was that like for you?
So as he said, they were separated, and we had started seeing each other. So I was in, I was in college at the time and working, and so I was having to continue my daily activities all the time, worried about, where's Michael and Alice, and then every car that passed me, looking at the car, looking to see if they were in it. And then I can still remember where I was. I was at work when the announcement came out on TV.
I mean, she knew Michael and Alex. We
Yeah.
would take them out to eat. We'll go out to eat and they'd be with us. So, she knew them intimately.
Yeah.
You'd been around the boys then.
Yeah,
as well.
a few times I had. So it was, it was heartbreaking to me as well. Even though they weren't my flesh and blood, I've always loved children, so they were already, in my heart. So it just made it hard to hear the news, and like I said, I believed her too. So
And the trial was, I'm sorry, if I don't say it, I'll forget it. Like, trial. Unfortunately, she was asked to not attend the trial.
Yeah.
Because it could reflect on the jurors in Susan's favor. Because she was being labeled as the mistress. And that was hard for her, wanting to be there. To support me, to support Michael and Alex. And she couldn't go. I mean, she could have, but she was asked not to attend.
How did that make you feel?
It was very hard to sit back and wonder what's going on. How's it going today? And then I didn't want to bombard him with questions when he got through that day, because it had been emotionally draining on him. So, I didn't want him to bring it all back up. So I would just take in what I could get from the news media. And then whatever he decided that he would want to share. Because sometimes he would want to talk about it, what happened that day, and then other days he didn't want to say anything. So, just I had to get it from the media what I could. As much as I hated the media at the time, because they were, like you said, I can remember one that they were sitting across the road and had a blanket over their head hanging out of their car, waiting on us to come out of his apartment. And they chased us on the motorcycle. And it was scary, things that they would do for us. So it made us, gave us a different perspective of the media at the time. And then, they've been more respectful over the years, and, it hasn't been as bad. But yeah, that was very tough times.
This might not be an answerable question. How did you guys navigate that as a young couple? And, now here you are, decades later, still here.
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either.
Like I said, I don't know how to answer that. We just figured it out day by day, year by year. I can't give you one answer. Well, we did this, or we tried this. No, we learned to have thick skin.
That for sure. Now, one thing that did, it made him not want to be around crowds of people as much, because everybody would always, and he felt like he was being bombarded or
Stared at.
So he's more of a homebody, and still to this day would rather stay at home than go do something.
Me more so than her.
I like to go. I like to go do things. I like to go on vacations and things. We took a few vacations that he enjoyed, I think, but he was always ready to get back home.
Can you ever truly escape it? I mean, I think as we were talking to people looking back at this case, that was the one thing people said, even on vacation, if somebody said, okay, where are you from? And they said Union, South Carolina, then they would ask the question, do you know Susan Smith?
Right.
Right.
So I assume, like, I don't know, could you ever get away from it?
Mm-mm.
Totally? Probably not.
Mm-mm.
She's put a tag on Union, South Carolina for who knows how long.
And it was so bad that at times, you know, I got to where I would say I'm from Spartanburg. I'm from Spartanburg, South Carolina, you know, outside of Greenville, which that's where, you know, we do live in Spartanburg now, but there for a while, that's what I would say to people when they would ask it when I was out of town, because I didn't want them to ask. And then, you know, still, like at work, if new people come to work with me that don't know who I am, I don't ever tell people who I am. Sometimes it'll come up, you know, certain things will come up and they'll say certain things, and over the years at my job, they've said things and it would be like, so, it has, you know, made that, I hope you can edit this, so I'm getting my thoughts all mixed up, but
It makes it tough.
it does. But yeah, I never would come out and just tell people when I would meet them, you know.
It's not something to brag about.
Yeah, it's not. It's something that you want to tell people, but then something will come up in conversation, and they'll go, you know, oh, you remember that Susan Smith woman? And I'll be like, yeah.
But you know, I still get people, heartfelt people, that come up to me and tell me that, you know, they still pray for me. They still think about Michael and Alex. I had a older lady about 3 years ago tell me that she still had a picture of Michael and Alex on her refrigerator alongside her children and grandchildren. And it just made my heart smile. It made my eyes tear up. This woman's not even related, but she still had a picture out of the newspaper. She told me it was a black and white picture, but it was still on her refrigerator. At that time, been 27 years later, and that amazes me.
Gotta make you feel good.
It absolutely makes you feel good. It definitely does.
Yeah.
But I like hang on to those pieces versus some of the other
I do.
that you have to deal with.
I do. I do hang on to them.
I think that's all I have. Is there anything you want me to include that I didn't ask, or?
Well, this was a pretty
Well, I
in-depth
appreciate-
interview, yeah.
And I appreciate the time and your willingness to talk about this. I imagine it's not easy, and I know you don't do a lot of these, just because I imagine it's hard to.
Talk about.
Yeah.
And like I said, some of them in the beginning ruined it for you.
Yeah. Well, some of those instances sound awful about what you had to deal with over the years.
But one of the best tips I got came from a guy. He was with the National Enquirer. We all love them. And he was harassing me, and I was yelling profanity at him and giving him the middle finger. And from a standoff distance, he said, "David, I'm probably not supposed to tell you this." He said, "But when you do things," and he said he was sorry that he was harassing me, but he said, "When you do things like that, you give us more stuff to write about." And that made sense, and that was the last time I did that to anybody in the media. because
Yeah.
I realized what he was saying. He helped me. He did. He said, when you do that, David, he said, he said, I hate doing this to you. Like, I hate doing this to you and treating you like this, but it's my job. He said, but when you do things like that, you give us more stuff to write about. So I appreciate to this day him telling me that, because it changed from that day on.
Yeah.
Being aggressive towards paparazzi or people like that.